Hi guys, and welcome to episode 5 of the Stoic Performance podcast. My name is Matty Green, and on today's show we have someone called Mark Lovell. He is a former Royal Marine and now a bit of an entrepreneur. He's opened up not one but almost 5 barber shops and a gym as well. So he's building a bit of an empire there. We go on about his time in the Corps, and how he transitioned into civilian life, and how he's doing really well in business. So it's great to see. It was great to chat to him. And again, as always, if you like the content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Right, Mark. So I wanted to get you on because I feel you've got quite an interesting background, interesting story. How you've kind of left the Marines and got into quite a bit of an empire you're starting to build. So we'll get on to like the business side of things later on. But going back to the core, like first up, really, what kind of made you want to join the Royal Marines? What happened there?
Weird for me, actually. I weren't, some people sort of grow up and they love, I don't know, soldiers and army cadets and things like that. I wasn't like that at all. I was probably the opposite. But I just remember going to the cinema and I saw an advert of the Marines. It was the whole campaign of 99.99% need not apply. And it was all the assault course and everything. And I love fitness and sports. That's the only thing I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy school and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I thought, cool, that sounds like a cool challenge. So that was literally it. Just went to the careers office, not knowing anything about nothing military. I had no military bearing at all. And just said, oh yeah, can I join the Marines? And that's sort of how it started, really.
And what was like the process smooth for you? The like PRMC all the way through?
No, it was funny. So I don't know if you saw my post recently about done a post about that, my headpiece. So I went initially applied. I was, I guess, just nearly turning 17, so just pretty much straight from school. And the first thing you do is the recruitment test, which is just like real basic maths, English, mechanical comprehension, all that. And then I done that and failed. So they said, oh, you failed. And I was like, oh, right, I didn't think I'd done that bad. So they said you can either go to college or and then retake the test in 6 months, or come back in a year and retake it again. So I signed up to do public services. But in the meantime, I done my fitness tests on the treadmill, and they were really happy with I smashed the time basically on the treadmill. He rang me up and he was like, look, if you go down to PRMC and do well, they won't worry about the RT. I think I only just failed it by a couple of marks. They said, don't worry about it, go down to PRMC. And if you do well, they'll sort of accept you and they'll sort of judge you down there. So luckily that's what I did, and that worked out fine and sort of got into training. See, that's the sort of the process of how I started. And then I was sort of 17 in training, and then we go through training a little bit.
Yeah. How did you find like foundation, like the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, so training, I remember, wow. So I was someone like, I'm happy to admit, like my mum done everything for me at home. Like I went in, couldn't iron, couldn't do anything. And again, a little bit, well, really silly of me. All I cared about still at that point was I want to do the fitness stuff. But I was shocked with how the Marines especially is so strict on personal hygiene, admin, administration, looking after yourself. Because obviously you've got to be able to look after yourself in the field and stuff. So that was a massive shock. I just remember like sort of foundation and stuff. I remember, maybe is it day 2, that you basically get issued all your kit. And I just remember putting it all on my bed, seeing everyone else sort of getting involved, getting all their kit out, sorting it all out. And I just wanted to break down and cry. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing with all this. Like, I have no idea. Like everyone knew what thing. I think a lot of lads had a bit of a military, you know what I mean? Well, I guess a lot of people were a bit older. They were sort of mid-20s and they had a bit of knowledge of what things are. They'd be like, I'll just have a list of everything. Right, this goes here, put this away here. And I was thinking, I ain't got a clue what that is. Yeah. And it's like, you know what I mean? You're probably the youngest in the troop. You're a bit nervous to ask someone for help at that stage and that. And yeah, it was sort of tough the first few days. I remember sort of people getting all their stuff ironed and in the thing, and it was taking me about an hour to iron a pair of trousers. Still had like 2 tram lines in them. Real funny, actually. I got a load of funny stories. I remember my first inspection, the corporal come round in the morning, and he was like, I didn't even know to put my belt through the belt loops. I missed the belt loops at the back. He was like, you hadn't even put your belt through the belt loop. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, I was rubbish basically to start with. And sort of struggled a lot. But the thing that got me through the early days, like they probably would have just kicked me out straight away, but I was one of the fittest. And as long as if you're fit, you're going to learn the rest eventually if you've got the right mindset, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's when I took recruits through, you could see massive difference. Those, you know, who were getting by admin wise and then struggling at fit, you know, they'd suffer. But like you say, you grow into it. You literally grow into the role, and you know, once you're, you know, walking back and forth from that locker, that inspection, like mock-up locker of how it would be, you're gonna learn it eventually. And if you want to learn it, you will. And obviously, you did.
And that's definitely what my learning curve. I noticed. So I struggled pretty much till probably week 15, and then my learning curve shot up as my confidence grew, and I realised actually. Because I think eventually something switched in me. It was like, well, actually, I keep getting fracks because I keep messing up, but I can do the fitness weren't a problem. So I was like, well, I'm going to pass out eventually. So I'm just going to have to get the grip of the rest of it because I ain't going to quit. So then by the end of training, I was probably, you know, I mean, one of the strongest recruits because you just, like I say, you learn the rest. And I started becoming confident. And where everyone else, I guess, their learning curve stays the same, my learning curve seemed to really shot up, and by the end of training, I was extremely confident and one of the sort of the sort of confident top guys in the troop, I guess. I sort of went from the bottom to sort of up there, really.
Most improved player.
yeah, I reckon so.
So, like, where did your drive then to succeed come from? In the fact that you didn't really have an affiliate with the Marines, you didn't really know much about it, but where was, you know, your thought process then of saying, right, well, I'm going to pass out, I'm going to do that. Where did that come from? Why did you want to pass out so badly?
I think I've always had a drive of proving people wrong. I know you shouldn't do things there's a toss up in life, like, 'cause you shouldn't do things to sort of prove to other people. I think you should always be happy in yourself. I don't really know to start with the reasons why I wanted to sort of get through it, but I've just always had it in me that I would never, sounds extreme, I'd rather die than quit. I'll never quit on anything, you know what I mean? So I guess going through training, I remember sort of before I joined up and everyone was sort of taking the piss a bit, laughing about it, like, oh, you join the Marines? It's like, you're never going to get in the Marines. Like, I mean, even my mum, like, you know what I mean? She would always support me, don't get me wrong, but she definitely didn't think I'd complete training. She's like, what are you doing? So that's always in the back of my mind. Anyone says something, the worst thing you can say to me is like, oh, you won't be able to do that, because then literally just a spark in me is just like, right, let's go, sort of thing. So I think that was always a driving force. Like, I always wanted to prove to myself and to and stuff like that, like to get through training, and it excited me. I brought into it very early. That's what I loved, and that's the biggest thing I miss. I'm very competitive, and I love looking at the corporals, and that's what I wanted to be like, you know what I mean? And not so much in the capacity of, I didn't care so much where I went with it, as in going through the ranks or anything, but I wanted to be that kind of person that I was looking at. I enjoyed what they were about and what they were saying. I sort of took it in, and that's what kept driving me to become that.
And that post you put on the other day about the earpiece. Yeah. Just go a little bit more into that, because that was pretty.
Yeah. So like my corporal Jackson. I'd love to. I don't know what he's doing now. You know, normally meet up with most people on Facebook, but I always look for him. I can't find him. So he was my corporal throughout training, and I think he saw a bit in me, like, because he joined up at 16, 17, and he later on in training he explained that he struggled to start with. But yeah, so he obviously knew I wasn't very good. And then I remember, I think it's the martial star, I think it's the first main exercise. He said, look, Lovell, you hand that Keem kit. He said, you can have the headset of the radio. He said, just hand it back to me. All I want you to do is hand me back that at the end of end of the exercise, you pass the exercise. It's like, oh, I can do that. So I remember I'd have it in my top flap on my Bergen. I was checking on it and stuff. And like, it was the night before we were finishing. I was on sentry. It's about 2 a.m. We got bumps. Oh, brilliant. Sort of rushed back. Obviously, it's the middle of the night. You've got to use your night discipline. I was rubbish, shit everywhere, trying to pack my stuff up, flapping, like everyone's sort of already there. And I was always the slowest to start with, getting all my stuff together. Sort of get there. We get thrashed for ages. And then you lay your kit muster out first thing in the morning, and I'm just beginning to let out. And he pulls me to one side, and he's sort of, Lovell. I said, Corporal. He's like, you got your you got the headpiece. And I was like, yeah, Corporal, yeah. He said, I was like, yeah. Straight away, my alarm bells in my head ring out.
Yeah.
He's got it. He's pulled it out, and he's like, look. I was like, oh. He said, like, we can do 2 things here. He said, like, I can hand this in to the boss. You know what I mean? And you'll probably be back trooped. Or we'll keep it between us, but we'll use this as a turning point. And throughout training now, whenever I ask to prove headpiece, you'll have it on your possession. So I used to keep it in my pocket a lot of the time. But then when we went into the field, he said, I don't mind if you lanyard it around your neck. So I had a bit of paracord, and I'd have it on a bit of paracord, and I'd have it tucked in when we were doing field exercises.
Yeah.
And then a bit cheesy, actually, right? I enjoyed it. Because it was real cheesy. That's what I liked about him. He used to always quote stuff from movies and funny. He was real strict, obviously, and hard, but he was real character as well. And he'd always be like doing little silly stuff. So before we'd go on a troop attack, I'd always take it out, kiss it, put it back in, and then sort of start. And it's quite a funny thing. Like by the end, I was like, you know what I mean? You sort of look over at me, and then I could feel that report. Like, I could see that he enjoyed seeing me change so much throughout training, as well as, and then that helped me push me on as well, because it's like I come a long way from the sort of start where I couldn't even look after a headpiece to sort of the end doing my final attacks and stuff. And it's just something I always look back on. I took that to Afghan with me. I took it everywhere with me after. I always kept it. It's like my sort of lucky charm as such.
That's awesome. So going through, you've passed out of training. Was there any, just before passing out, any commando tests that you struggled with, or did you just kind of like get
you know what? I was really it's a bit of a mad story, actually. I finished field firing, then you go on to your commando tests, and I got a leg infection. I got cellulitis in my knee, so I had to go to hospital, and I was gutted because literally the next week was my test, and I knew I'd complete my test because I was real fit by that stage. So I had to go to hospital, and it was real bad. My leg was massive. So they were going to put me into, well, they did. That they had to back treat me because I would miss my test dates. I was still in hospital, and like it was so emotional because like obviously you just want to pass out with your troop.
Yeah.
So I got out of hospital. I had to pack my stuff to move to Hunter Troop. I didn't want to go to Hunter Troop. I was like, look, I can. All I've got to do is my test and I complete training. There's no need for me to go to Hunter Troop. But there's all the protocols in place and that. It's not like I could just crack on as such. So I went to Hunter Troop. And I kind of kicked up a bit of a fuss, really. But like, not in some respect, like you can't really say too much. You just got to do it. But I went and just explained to try to, because they say, right, you have to do, once you're in 100, you do a month, and then you sort of do your thing to get back into training. I was like, look, I've literally only missed 10 days in hospital. I've just got to do my commando tests. So anyway, I was in 100 Troop for a few days, and then the training, someone must have said something to the training team, because they said, right, we're going to do you remember Cheeky Wednesday? Yeah. So they call it Cheeky Wednesday, basically 2 commando tests in one day.
Yeah, Tarzan.
So they said, right, we're going to do a mock of Cheeky Wednesday today. Anyone who wants to move back into the troop, see where you are, to move back into a troop. If they pass Cheeky Wednesday, then we can assess it and move you into your troop with 897 troop, which is the next week, which starts the commando test on the Friday. So on the Wednesday, I done that, passed both of them. So then they had no option really. They had to let me go into my troop. So then I went from that, doing 2 commando tests, straight onto my troop, which was then 897, and then joined them and went straight into my commando test because that was my last week. And then luckily passed the commando test. I didn't do the 30 miler as I was in bits by then. But by then your mindset's so strong, I just, like, my legs were just moving, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then, so then passed out. But yeah, I had a little. That was the only thing I was gutted about, because I would have just rather finished it together with my troop. But yeah, things happen. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, because we had a big influx of lads coming from Hunter right at the very end of training, like commando test, and final X phase, and it's like our troop almost split into two. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you build up such a camaraderie, and then a load of other lads come through, and you forget that you're all going for the same thing, and ultimately it doesn't fucking matter.
In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Like when you move into a unit life and it's all forgotten. Like at the time, it's really gutting, because you've got all them memories, and like there's nothing more I would have wanted to pass out of that same corporal who inspired me through all the training. You know what I mean? And I had that sort of piss up with him at the end and stuff. But it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. So what happened after training? Where did you go?
So then I went straight up to Fleet Protection Group. I was just sort of turned. I was 18 now by this stage. I went up to Fleet Protection Group, and I had a horrible time. To start with,
that's where we
joined
met.
you guys actually. The first one I went to O Squadron, and I was so excited. I thought, "Cool, yeah, I've made it now. This is fucking brilliant." I went into O Squadron, and wow, it was harder than training, because of that. So basically, Fleet Protection Group, you go behind the wire, and it's really boring. No one wants to be there. It's sort of shit. You do 5 weeks behind the wire, which is just people who don't know. You're just looking after the nuclear assets and stuff. So it's just like a glorified security guard a little bit. It's not really the job we wanted to do. And you're sort of stuck in with everyone for 5 weeks, and then you go and do your normal bits for 5 weeks. And that 5 weeks, because there's not much to do, basically all you are is a bit like a toy for the senior lads and the corporate. I think it's changed a lot now. I mean, this is over 10 years ago, isn't it? So I think things are more in place now, certainly. But yeah, there used to be every night we used to have a court at 6 o'clock, and anyone done anything, you'd go up in court, and then you'd have to roll the dice, and there'd be like little punishments and stuff. It's all character building and stuff.
This could be something like leaving your cup out, couldn't it? It could be something, anything. If you got left
anything. So yeah, for instance, I'll give you an example. I left my wet towel on my bed, and they're like, leave that. You know what I mean? Because when you're new, they'll get you for anything. So I used to pretty much have to roll just for being new every night. Like there's no way I'd get through a court without someone putting their hand up and stitching me up for something silly.
Yeah.
Obviously the senior guys, the longer you've been in, you just get, even if you get left alone a bit. So I was rolling every night, and I found it really hard. So I went from being at the end of training, being this popular sort of one of the cool kids a little bit as such, to being back down at the bottom of the pile and in a big old badder world with all these sort of tougher Marines and stuff. And I actually remember another thing that happened that was a little bit of a switch in my mind. I remember we're doing fizz, like troop fizz, and we're doing circuits around the block as such. And I smashed it. I was sort of running around, and I laughed at someone or something a little bit. And afterwards, this Scottish lad, he got me up by the neck actually, and so you take the piss again. You know what I mean? You sort of get filled in as such. Because I was just probably still a little bit cocky and things like that, and it doesn't really go down well when you're in a unit as such, unit life. And I had to learn a lot of lessons early on from it, good and bad. And then from there, I went down to Northwood, which was really cool. That's in London, Watford. And that was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Again, same sort of security stuff, but I got 2 weeks off, and I was left alone a bit because it was a smaller troop. And then from there, I went back up to Fleet Protection Group and joined your troop, which was probably my favourite time in the Corps. CRF troop, when we used to do the convoys. Again, it was a crap job, but we had an amazing group of lads, didn't we? And I was, by then I was sort of a year in, and because you weren't as bad, and we had the characters that weren't so much people being idiots. We just all had a great time, really, didn't we?
I think that troop stands out for me as in, one of the very best times of my time in the Corps. It was full of like misfits almost, like lads complete. Like,
well, everyone had to have a nickname, really, didn't they? And everyone was like this and that. It was
from the top down, wasn't it? Like from Frank all the way down through the corporals, the lance jacks on myself. And
it's kind of like you weren't allowed in the troop unless you had something strange or funny or weird about you, or had something about you. You know what I mean? It was really good. Even
the boss, was you there when Boss Fern was there?
Yeah, I was coming to the end of him. Yeah.
So he was awesome. He was mental, more awesome but mental. And like we were dealing with the with the police on the convoys and stuff on exercise, and he'd be like very eccentric about it, and he'd be like, I'm, you know, unleashing my hounds of hell on you lot. And we're like looking at him like, what the but yeah, even that camaraderie we had in that troop was just unbelievable. I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that was again a bit of a turning point in the calling, because I loved that. And that's what I found my love again. And I was like, this is brilliant. Like I'm with the lads that I want to be with, and then you start enjoying it all again. Yeah, so that was great. And then from there, sorry.
I remember when you joined our troop, because you rocked up. We was on the pitch, on the football pitch, and you just rocked up, and I was like, who's this guy? And he comes in with his left peg and he starts banging him in. I'm like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? What did you?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was the first time I got to play sport and do bits, and it was like that's what I wanted to do, and that really as well, and get to do some stuff. But from there, I left and went to 4-2 Commando, and that was really then the start of my well, that was when it was getting serious again. Like Afghan was on and stuff, so we were getting ready for Afghan, and done Afghan with 4-2, and then I met you again out in Afghan, I suppose, with 4-2, and I pretty much stayed there. 4-2 Commando, and then I got injured playing football after Afghan and everything. So while I was injured, I was luckily went to my careers office in Cambridge and got to do that for sort of 10 months while I was sort of downgraded. Which was great, because obviously I was just at home, and sort of it was a nice break. It was a nice break from Afghan and everything like that. And sort of
how did you find Afghan? I mean, we were doing, that was a job we were there to do, wasn't it? I think as in Lima Company, the company we were in, the job role was fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, that was it. It was.
Yeah, I always say to people, we were extremely lucky in the respect that we were doing a job that I don't think, other than say SF and aspect like that, not many people who join the military get to do in Afghan. We were doing strike operations. We were doing what you join and what you think commandos do and sort of infantry people do. There's a lot of people who, even in infantry units, like I say, they go out to FOBs and they're sort of stuck there doing the same patrols. But we were doing a really good, tough job. But it was, I mean, that was, I like to call that the pinnacle of what I would call soldiering. And it was brilliant to look back on. Extremely hard and tough, but it's certainly the proudest moment of my career is the stuff we were doing out there. Yeah, definitely. I feel that last op in Marja was, you couldn't top that, I don't think. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could have went either way. We were sort of in Taliban's back garden and such, and we knew the dangers, and it went really well. I mean, a few lads got hit and stuff. No, we didn't lose anyone, did we? And it was a massive success, and it kind of finished the tour on an amazing high note, really. And I think we were all apprehensive. I remember, because I think we thought we were going home, didn't we? Yeah. And then they sort of come in. I think it's because it was more so because the Sun newspaper are out there, and we were handing over, I think, maybe to the Paras or something. I don't know. And I think we wanted to go out with a big op, but I think even like from sort of stripey level down, no one really wanted to do it to start, because you think, well, I've survived here. You start thinking in the back of your mind about going home, and then they tell you, right, you're going to go and do this sort of really aggressive operation, you know what I mean, in an area that we knew was very highly dangerous. So but it went really well, and again, it was sort of, well, you're glad we done it afterwards. One of my kind of standout memories from that operation was, before we'd even gone in, remember we landed on, and we were out around the outside of the village, kind of waiting to go in. And I was just moving between my lads, I had my lads lined out, just checking it was all right. And there was a sergeant major from, I think it was Command Company, I can't remember who it was, but he thought I was Lima's sergeant major, so he started shouting. He was like, Ed, come here. And I walked over, and he was like, oh, sorry, I thought you were the Lima Company sergeant major. And he was like, I just want to say good luck on one, lads. Just be safe for you. And him saying that to me, I was like, right, he knows more than I do about what we're about to do. He obviously knows this is going to be a big one. Yeah. And the lads were like, what's he just said? I was like, no, I just wish us luck. On that, how big it was, I remember listening in onto the headset. We were I guess the third wave to fly in, and you could hear already on the headset rounds coming down. You know what I mean? You're looking around and you know you're flying straight into it. And I remember landing. We come to land, half of us got off, and because we were under fire, he went to take off again. And it was like, what the fuck are you doing? We got to land. So we sort of dropped the rest of us off, and it was pretty fucking hectic from the word go. But I mean, we had like I say, it was great afterwards. You know what I mean? It was mad. It was that time. There was a couple of times on that one where you're like, cool, you know what I mean? Tell my mum I love her. You know what I
mean? That bridge. Remember the bridge that the engineers?
Yeah.
And we were doing rounds are coming over our heads on that one. And I remember the stripey was saying when you kind of got in single file, you started stacking up, and your time was getting closer and closer, and then you were the next guy, and then he was like, right, don't run, but don't go too slow, but don't run. And we were like, what? Because it would bounce literally as soon as you got on that bridge, and if you went over the side, that was you'd be sinking. And then you had the round coming in overhead as well, and it was pretty sketchy, but it was fun. Like, you know, as soon as I ran and jumped and dived in, I landed in a face full of mud, and all the lads were just pissing themselves laughing at me because I looked like a
some little moments that pick you up again.
So after what happened after the careers office, was that what point did you realize, right, I'm gonna
so I guess I was in two ways then, a little bit. Like, I guess from there I was starting to get better. Like, my ankle was getting all right, and I was an acting corporal, so I was probably in line. I either thought, right, I've got to go and do my juniors or call it a day. And it was a real hard decision, really. I guess if I stayed in, I would have had to really knuckle down and start looking at, like, let's say, like a junior command course and that, and sort of then I looked at sort of trying to stay in or leave at that point. I don't know if it was the money or not. Like, there was a thing going on in private security. Everyone was jumping on private security sector. And a few of my mates were out there doing the maritime work, and they kept asking me to go out and do it, and so it's brilliant. And I was sort of, I said no just a few times. But yeah, in the end, I decided to leave and jump into that. So that's what I did. I sort of had my notice in and moved across into the maritime sector and done the sort of the private security type work, I guess. Security officer or whatever you want to call it, out on the ships, Somalia and that.
And how did you find that? Was that?
That was, I'll tell you what, like, that was weird. So the first year doing that was the best. It was like a dream job. Like, you didn't really have to, like, because you've just done Afghan and all that, like you had two different types of people actually out there. So you had the old guys who maybe joined the Corps and left, even if they'd done 22 years. They might not have ever done anything, as in, like, without being rude, I mean, as in, like, combat stuff. And then you got quite a few young lads that have left, even though they've only done 5-6 years, but they might have done 2 or 3 tours. So there's a bit of a strange mix of people. Like, you had to either be Marines, SF, to be in the company we worked for. But it was quite a strange dynamic because there was a lot of team leaders were the young guys, and a lot of ex-sergeant majors were just the pods. Yeah, the first year was amazing. It was just run by an ex-Marine, a company, and it got so big, so quick that I think it was people. He couldn't keep control of everything. So there's times we were just in a hotel, all expenses paid, waiting for another job, but it was just a bit like a party, really. And then you'd go on ship would be really boring and that, and you're doing a watch routine, get off into another country, and it would just be partying, really, waiting to go on to another job. And the jobs itself, again, because you've done Afghan, it weren't really, it was boring. I mean, but yeah, it was really good money. I mean, there was a threat, obviously. We'd get watched quite a lot, and sometimes the pirate Somalians would come and approach the ship. You might have to fire a warning shot. Very rare that you'd get into a firefight. The most dangerous part of that job was actually being on land, because if you're on land in some of the countries, it's quite dangerous walking around just being who we are in certain countries. And a couple of people did lose their life, actually, separate, not actually working. One in Reunion Island and someone in South Africa. So it was more dangerous, I'd say, not at work than at times being on the job. But it was good, really. Like, if it was good, it was a good few years. It started to change towards the end. Again, that's why I left. Basically, the company got brought out, and then I guess the directors, then all they care about is profit margins and stuff. I mean, I understand that. So it weren't like a case of you finish a job, you could just stay in a hotel for a week, wait for another job. It was kind of like you get off a job, go home, be back on the waiting list trying to get out. You never knew what you were doing. It obviously got a lot stricter, what you can and can't do and everything. And the final straw for me with that one was it went from a company where you could just it was just ex-Marines to eventually, because the threat level started going down and there's more and more security, they started getting people in, not so much the company I work for, but in the industry, just basically anyone who had a rifle at some point could sort of try and get in, and it was getting a bit stupid. They were starting to use foreign nationals and I've got nothing against any of these people, but like, I like to know, certainly if shit does hit the fan, like the person left or right knows what they're doing, you know what I mean, or is trained to the same standard. So it just got a bit, I stopped enjoying it. And the final straw with that was I was seeing a lot of, one day I just wanted a family and have a normal life. And you couldn't do that there because I was always away. I mean, the first year I was doing that, I was in the UK only 52 days. I declared myself like a non-UK resident because I was just always away. So one day I just wanted to settle down and have a family. So I left all that behind, really.
And so the turning point, obviously, you got into what you're doing now through that, didn't it? That's how it kind of came about. So
what, as in the Barber and stuff?
Yeah.
So that's, so basically my girlfriend, who's my wife now at the time, she was a barber. So when I mean, I know her pretty much all my life. We started seeing each other again and things. And so when I used to come home, I'd obviously just go and see her down the barbershop. And like, all my friends are at work and stuff, so I'd sit down the barbershop quite a lot of the time. And I got on really well with the lads. I knew all the lads down at the shop, and sort of, I thought, I was thinking about what I could do when I leave all the security and the military stuff. I mean, I'm not academic. I didn't have no qualifications. I didn't do any trades. So they weren't, my options weren't, I didn't have the most options. So I just thought, actually, barbering seems all right, like social, and I didn't mind it. So I thought I'd give it a go. So I just started cutting my mate's hair for free in the shop with my missus, really, and with the guys and that, and having a bit of a laugh with it, and then learning a bit more. Eventually found it okay. So left the security and sort of jumped into that, really.
Is like, we obviously left kind of lost touch with each other, but eventually it kind of comes back around, and I seen you open up barber shops, and I was like, what?
Yeah, random.
Where has this come from?
Well, imagine when I'm cutting someone's hair and I'm telling them, they're like, oh, how long have you been barbering for? Oh, a couple of years. And they're like, all right, what did you used to do? And I start trying to explain a little bit what I've done before. Sometimes I don't even go in, like, don't even say really, because you just think I'm bullshitting. It's like chalk and cheese, isn't it? Like from one extreme to the other. Like, so it's just, it is a bit weird.
So that kind of change in direction in career, and then starting to open up, your first shop, learn about business. Did you like go into learning about business? Did you do anything on the side, or did you just kind of?
No, again, I jumped into that not knowing anything, and then learn as I went on, and now I love it and learn a lot more. All it was, I wanted to be a barber, but I knew I'd never be happy just being a barber. So if I'd done it, I'd want to do it properly and have a shop, etc. And I knew that the lads who owned the shop, and he opened another shop in Bury, and I started working there. Like, I got qualified, sort of thing. I got to a standard where I could cut hair a bit, you know what I mean, and sort of started working with him there. And I said, like, I do want my own shop, really. I don't want to. I wouldn't be happy just cutting it. I'll just be honest. So they had an idea of making a brand up anyway, because they had a couple of other shops that were doing well. So we agreed I'd buy that Bury shop off them. I was lucky. I saved my money in the security. I didn't really spend it because I knew one day I wanted to do my own thing or have a normal life. So I saved every penny I had, really. So I brought that shop off my friend and took it on. And then they made a bit of a brand. They turned the other shops into the same as that shop and made a bit of a brand. And then it went from there, really. And now I own 4, but I've got a business partner. I own 4, and I've just signed a lease for another shop. So that'll be my 5th one in the last sort of 3 years and 4 years, 3 years.
And the gym as well.
Yeah.
You're in that.
So again, that was random. I throw myself into it, and then I learn. So obviously, I've always had an interest in health and fitness. That's the reason why I started doing things and stuff. And there was a gym near where I live, and I knew the guy was moving to Australia, Joe. So he wanted to sell the gym, and I looked at buying it before actually I'd done the barbering, but I didn't because it just wasn't the right time. I didn't know anyone at that time, sort of in the industry and stuff. But I always knew he wanted to move. So then I met my friend Ross Hamrahan, who you've had on here, obviously on one of your podcasts as well. I've done a gym session over here with him, and he was in the industry. I said, and he was interested. I told him about the gym and for sale, and he was interested. So I said, should we just buy it? And he said, yeah. So I said, all right, cool. So we got together, him and another young PT who I know had a lot of potential. He's really good now. And the 3 of us sort of just bought the gym 18 months ago, and we sort of transformed it, really. We've completely done it all up. And that's going well now, yeah. So, now I've come away from I found what I enjoy. To be honest, I mean, long term, I don't enjoy cutting hair, really, if I'm honest with you. But I love business, and I love the challenges, and I love growing with people as well. So that's probably where I'm going with things now. I enjoy that. I really love the business side of things. It really stimulates me, and the challenges of it. As you can it probably sounds like I like the challenges. The challenges is what gets me going. Once I've sort of done it, I'm like, right, move on to the next sort of challenge a little bit.
Yeah. So with obviously, 4, nearly 5 shops, the gym, that's obviously you're starting to kind of build a bit of an empire there with obviously employees coming in. How have you dealt with almost like a leadership role? How do you deal with that?
I'd say that's been the biggest change in me. Like, I hate people who say people don't change, because I think that's bullshit. Like, people change all the time. If you looked at me 2-3 years ago to the person I'm now, it's completely different. So if you looked at how I'd probably maybe deal with that 2 years ago to how I deal with it now, it's a big difference. I guess I was still a bit military pissed to start with, and that doesn't work in the sort of civic world. So how have I dealt with? I've learned to let go of certain things, and I've learned. So basically, if you want to come away from something and allow it to still do well, you have to give people incentives. You have to allow people to. You can't take control of everything, because that's what I've done to start with, and I used to get so stressed, and I'd always want to be doing everything for everyone, and it was affecting my personal life. You have to learn. Well, one, you need good people around you, otherwise you can't do it. So you need to identify good people, and when you do, you've got to keep them. You've got to learn that probably 80% of people will come and go. Doesn't matter what you say and do, there will be people that come and go, and you've got to be happy with that. And then the third thing that I think is the most important that I'm really moving into now is, don't just take someone on if they haven't got the same. Before, because I expanded so quick, I just needed people. So I'd take people on. You know what I mean? As long as they were skilled, as long as they were good, but not with their personal qualities. Like, not if they were, sometimes they might have different personal, what I'd be looking for. I think it's really important, because all what will happen is it won't work out. So now I just try and really, rather than saying having the best barber, I want the best person, because then you can train them to become the best barber anyway, or whatever, or it doesn't have to be the best, but like, people are a lot more trainable.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking for good people, really, and that's how you do it. You just need good people, and if you get good people, then you build with good people. And like the shops, I'll give like a percentage away to the shops eventually. You can't have everything if you want to keep growing. So then I can go and do other things. And I've got managers in all the shops now, and they're brilliant, and they look after the shops. And you've just got to learn to let things go a little bit. Probably waffled on a bit there.
No, it's good because it's, you know, you've left with literally, you know, on the grand scheme of things, nothing. You've left the car. Similar to me, like I didn't academically, not academic whatsoever. I left with very little qualifications, if anything. You know, I was a PW, so I taught people how to use weapons and take down buildings. How am I going to do that in Sydney? I'm not going to do that. So you've left and you've kind of developed and, like you say, learned on the way. And you've learned to deal with people and lead them, and it's very commendable, mate, what you've done.
That's where I found my biggest enjoyment comes now from. Is trying to. You get more enjoyment, I think, strangely. Well, it shouldn't be strangely from seeing other people move up and helping them, because then you'll actually grow better, and you'll grow more. If you try and do everything, you won't. You'll just, what I see, I've got other friends that have got businesses. I call it going on the hamster wheel. So what will happen, you'll get your own business, but it might not be profitable because you'll be working so hard in that business and you're just going round and round on the hamster wheel. You're making money for yourself, but your business is not really making that much money because you haven't got you're not letting other people in and for it to grow, and you're so stressed with everything else that you can't do anything else. So then that stays the same. And then in 10, 20 years, you think, oh, this is sort of stressful now, and then sell it. Whereas if you take a step back and you sort of work with people and everyone's got their strengths, then you can sort of grow. And as long as there's respect there, you can build with people, I think, a lot quicker and easier than you can if you're just trying to do everything yourself, stuck on the hamster wheel, running round and round and round and round.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, being able to delegate and
yeah, definitely. That's massive. Like I say, now my management style. Well, I've got my managers and my business partners. One of the first things we set out straight away is job roles, because before I try and do all the job roles and get myself stressed, and then I'll become a crap manager or boss because I'm just shouting at people or being aggressive because I'm stressed out myself, and it's not the way to be. Or the biggest one I'm learning is communication over WhatsApp. You know what I mean? I'll be like texting and WhatsApping, and it's just silly. It's like you need to talk to people, and everyone has their own. Everyone's good and bad, and if you get into an argument, which we don't really argue as such, but if you get into any debate, I always try and think, first of all, what is that person's. Everyone's got a view while they're saying it, so think of their reasons first before you start like sort of talking about resolving something, because everyone's got an opinion and everyone can be, there's no right or wrong, you know what I mean?
In terms of like personal development and like is there any things you've read, any books you read, is there any courses you go on, anything like that you kind of
I'm a massive I don't read because I'm not that I'm not very good at reading and writing, so I listen to audio all the time. Audio, I don't watch telly, like I can't remember the last time I finished a series or something. I'll start, and then my mind's always wanting to learn and do stuff. So I'll listen audio and podcasts. That's all I do. Any free time, I'm listening to audio and podcasts, and that's all genuinely sort of motivational business stuff. Yeah,
that's class. Like anything that stands out audio wise. I know in the fitness realm, there's people like Mark Fisher. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
So How to Win with Friends and Influence People is probably the first book I listened to, which I really enjoyed. It's a really old book that talks about everything to do with really management and talking to people. Just all the standard ones that everyone listens to, hears, I guess, all the motivational guys. What's my favourite books? I don't have to go onto my audio. Nothing stands out too much, but like I just read them all, and I'll just take little bits off each one. You know what I mean? I'm listening to a lot of money ones at the minute, because that's something I've done in my time in lockdown, trying to organise my everything better. I'm moving house and stuff, so I need to be a bit more strict on stuff.
And how have you found like the lockdown process, like with the shops having to I guess taking your clothes
You know,
off?
yeah. So again, like we probably touched on a little bit, it's amazing how how people adapt. And we were speaking earlier like about children, even our kids, and how they can even adapt to the situations. So the first 2 weeks of lockdown, I was going crazy. Really, I was probably a little bit annoyed because I'm thinking, well, I've just built, you know, what I mean, businesses and stuff, and I was maybe a bit scared, thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to start again, and sort of felt a bit sorry for myself, felt stressed. So that was the first 2 weeks. But then actually over the last 5 weeks, it's probably been some of the happiest I've ever been in my life, because it's allowed me to just stop, take a step back. It's not like you know what I mean, I've stopped and just done nothing. I've been assessing things, putting things in place for the future, and it's just allowed me time to do stuff that you don't do every day because you're so stuck with trying to sort stuff out that you don't. Sometimes it's hard to take a step back. It's allowed me to take a step back and allow my mind and brain to just switch off a little bit, and refocus, and enjoy some amazing time with obviously like the kids and my wife. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been sort of good, really.
Don't leave her out.
No, can't leave her out. She's a good girl.
Mate, just to kind of finish on, if you could tell someone or give someone a piece of advice who was leaving the Corps, leaving the armed forces, and wanting to start up their own business, what kind of advice would you give, if any? What was?
First of all, do it, because which sounds like a real easy way out. So when I was getting my first shot, every single person, again including my mum, would have told me, oh, don't do that. Oh, what why are they selling that and that, and worrying and stressing, and if I listened to everyone else, then I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't have done it. So if you want to do something, just sort of commit to it and do it. And obviously you need to the numbers dictate first. So that's the first thing. Don't just do it if it's something crazy. I don't know what people are doing. Don't sign yourself away to a 10-year lease to something that's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
So first of all, which I've always learned in business and everything now, everyone likes to do the pretty stuff, you know what I mean, the fancy stuff, and I want to put the Instagram page out first, but they haven't done the numbers. So the numbers dictate everything. So do the boring stuff, speak to an accountant, and do that. If the numbers add up to what you forecast, and then go for it. You know what I mean? Don't jump into it without doing your numbers. But if you got your savings, you got the money, the numbers work out to whatever you're doing, then don't listen to other people worrying about it, because you will be fine. You know what I mean? It will work out fine as long as you work hard and you're consistent with it. You have to be consistent. You're going to have good days and bad days, like in anything. But I think one thing that too many people are guilty of, they listen to people's advice that haven't, like this, without sounding horrible, I wouldn't listen to my mum about business because she doesn't understand the business side of stuff. Yeah. So she might say, well, don't do that, but she doesn't know. So take advice from someone that has done it, or listen to them and learn off them, because you have probably 80% of people saying, oh, don't do it. It's just because they put a limit on themselves at what they can do and they don't want to do it. But so go for it, but make sure the numbers are right first, because a lot of people maybe might get themselves into trouble if you haven't got your savings, you haven't got your emergency fund. Make sure you do the boring stuff first and then just go for it. And you will be successful, definitely, if you stay consistent with it over a couple of years. A lot of people, again, might think that, I mean, I didn't take a penny out of any of my businesses. So I've only had my businesses, say 5 years, but I didn't take a penny from them for the first 3 years. Didn't take 1 penny out of the business account for free. They just paid the bills and stuff. And people sort of forget that I actually moved I had a house I rented out, a house I was living in that I rented out and moved back in with my wife's parents. Slept on the sofa for the first sort of couple of years, just because I didn't want to touch any of the business money. I just wanted to make sure everything was there. And then eventually, after a few years, then you can start taking some money, and then you can do some things that you like to do. But you need to make. If you start a business, you're going to go backwards in lifestyle for 2 or 3 years. Don't think you start a business and then you start living the high life. You know what I mean? The first 3 years is tough, but if you stay consistent with it, then after that you'll reap the benefits from it.
Yeah, consistency, dedication, and the willingness to work hard and do every single job of that company for the first few
Definitely.
years.
Learn it all from the bottom up, and then you'll be great.
Awesome, mate. I'd just like to thank you for your time this morning. Really appreciate it. And definitely wishing you and your family every success for the future with the new shops and the ones you currently have.
Cheers. No worries. Thanks for inviting me on. It's been good. It's been my first podcast. You know what? It's been my first podcast I've been asked to do a couple of people I know, and I always end up saying no. Because I get a little bit self-conscious. I've been all right now. So when I start, I just waffle on. But you know what I mean? You get a little bit self-conscious when you first talk to people, don't you? But because I know you well, I thought that's all right. I can speak to Matty. That'll be fine. It's been good.
Well, I appreciate it, mate. And we'll get a night out sorted when all this lockdown's finished.
Yeah. All right, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Take care.